After arriving to fight the Corpse Queen, the Night Hound leaves behind a messy scene, as everyone nearby gathers to where they were. The townspeople were shocked to see how fast the Night Hound was, as Rose appears amongst them, casually eating the snacks she had bought. Dolores was standing in front of the crowd, analyzing what was going on. She started to think that the Night Hound had moved the fight with the Corpse Queen somewhere else so that the people here wouldn't get hurt. Seeing that there was nothing else she could do, Dolores places her hands together in order to pray that the Night Hound doesn't get hurt. When we finally return to the duo, the Corpse Queen was happy to meet the Night Hound once again. But he cuts her greeting short, saying their goodbyes now. But the Corpse Queen urges him to allow them to talk first. But those words mean nothing to the Night Hound as he summons Beelzebub, warning the demon that she wouldn't see an opening like last time. But before they could start the fight, voices were heard shouting in the distance, slowly approaching the duo. It turns out to be the city guards. Massive groups were coming towards them now. Seeing that, the Corpse Queen tells him that they should go somewhere else before the others arrive. But the Night Hound declines that, placing the ring on his finger instead. He tells her that he has the gift that her former comrade had left behind. As he shows the Divine Immortal's ring, it starts to glow, activating its barrier ability. Not long after, a bright purple light emerges from the Night Hound. The scene then changes to a whole new place. Statues made of Osiris and Hugo were seen towering high above the eerie place as swords decorated the area. Looking around, the Night Hound looks at the statues, made up of young Hugo and Osiris. This space reflects the state of Set le Baskerville, who was possessed by Andromalius. Even the Corpse Queen knew who the statue was, recognizing him as the Baskerville's clan patriarch. With all these clues together, she finally confirms what she had been suspecting all along. So before their fight, she tells the Night Hound to remove his mask as she needed to check something. In her mind, she was begging for him to do as she says. It turns out that because of the contract she made with Sire, she couldn't take off her own mask or reveal her true identity. She couldn't even tell the Night Hound her actual name. Instead of doing as she asked, the Night Hound launches the first attack, a sharp blade to the eye. At the last moment, she dodges the attack, casted a shield spell to block all incoming strikes from the Night Hound, telling him to stop. Being only able to block the attack so far, the Corpse Queen slowly realizes that she couldn't keep up with him, shocked over how strong he had become from their time apart. As she bleeds from the wounds on her arms, she decides to turn things up by asking Sire to borrow her power. In order to have half her power, Sire bargains for half a day in exchange for her powers, which the Corpse Queen easily agrees to. Thanks to the upgrade in power, she was able to cast a magic spell right underneath the Night Hound. Hands from the undead held onto him, stopping the Night Hound from attacking any further. While that was going on, more undead minions were summoned as she told him that since he wouldn't take off the mask, then she had no choice but to take it off with force. Following her orders, the large undead creatures started to chase after the Night Hound, but it was futile. A wave of Baskerville sword energy slices right through the minions. From their heads, arms and legs, every piece of the undead's body was cut into pieces. Seeing her minions easily destroyed, the Corpse Queen had to rethink her decisions, surprised that this level of power wasn't enough to stop him. Lacking the power to stop the Night Hound, she calls onto Sire once again, ordering her to give more power in exchange for 16 hours. No longer caring about what she has to give up, the Corpse Queen accepts the new deal and gains more power from the demon, allowing her to summon an undead serpent. But even the might of an undead serpent was not enough to stop the Night Hound as he simply stops it by grabbing onto its fangs. Seeing that even this level of power wasn't enough, the Corpse Queen demands more power from the demon, exchanging it for 20 hours. It all seems pointless as the Night Hound easily cuts everything she summons into pieces. As he slays every undead, he starts to notice these careless attacks from her. It was as though she was trying to restrain him instead of attacking him directly. Which makes him wonder why. As the attacks kept coming, the Corpse Queen started to give up more of her body for possession in exchange for more power from the demon. Happy with the situation, Sire started to demand more time, pushing it up to 22 hours in exchange for her power. With that last exchange, she was able to summon a torrent of waves around the Night Hound, and with a tightened fist, she captured him. Out of breath, but she succeeds. The corpse queen had trapped the night hound in a spell, holding him high in the air, slowly asking him to take off the mask. In response, he simply destroys the spell that was trapping him. Seeing this, the corpse queen could only wonder why he was trying so hard to kill her even though he was covered in injuries. What the hell did he go through for him to despise demons so much? Where is this immense amount of hatred coming from? Summoning more undead, she continues to hope deep down that the night hound was the person she thinks he is, and that he would finally recognize the person she was behind the mask. With all her remaining strength, the corpse queen could only summon an undead wall to block the night hound, hoping this was enough for him to find the true her. Instead of cutting it through, the night hound wanted to ask her a question. The reason why she was trying to subdue him instead of attacking him directly, the reason why she wanted to take off her mask, and the reason why her eyes, hidden behind the mask, was so sad, is because she wanted to tell him something but couldn't. Sensing that he was right, the night hound punches through the wall, and with a single flick of his finger, the mask on the corpse queen's face shattered into tiny pieces. This encounter seemed similar to a memory from their childhood. Through the hole in the wall, Vikir's face was seen as he happily greets the person before him. The corpse queen was Kamu Morg. Reacting their childhood memory, Vikir and Kamu had finally found one another. We begin this chapter off with the sounds of someone crying behind a massive door. Her cries could be heard echoing throughout the house. This was 3 years ago, at the Morg family's grand estate. The servants outside her door were talking amongst themselves. Realizing that Kamu has been crying and refusing to eat for the past several days, as though blaming herself for what had happened. It made sense that she was. While trying to save her from the barbarians, a lot of people were killed and injured. The servants knew the biggest reason behind her sadness and grief was because of Vikir Baskerville's death, which we all know that he actually survived and lived amongst the barbarians with Ayin. The servants themselves started to cry, calling Kamu pitiful and sad for what she went through. The hurt she must be feeling must be so painful because the person she loved passed away. As they were talking, someone else approached the room. In an instant, all the servants who were talking about Kamu had their heads covered in water. They immediately felt suffocated, their bodies slowly being lifted into the air as the man scolds them for daring to gossip about the person they serve in the open like this. That man was none other than Adolf, Kamu's uncle. He reprimands the servant, reminding them that a servant's virtue is to be tight-lipped, but instead, they were too absorbed in gossiping about their master while using their concern for her as an excuse. Sensing that they could lose their lives, the servants tried to beg for forgiveness as their voices were drowned out by the water. Seeing that they had learnt their lessons, Adolf releases the spell from their heads, warning them that the next time he catches them behaving this way, he would cut off their tongues so they would no longer run their mouths. Seeing that no one else was nearby, Adolf slowly approaches the doors, calling out to Kamu that it was her uncle Adolf coming in. The moment he entered, the room was mostly filled with darkness, with a single window letting light in while on the bed was a huge lump. Sounds of crying could be heard from. Adolf sits gently by the bedside, telling Kamu about how he heard that she wasn't eating, and that the matriarch of the family, her mother, was getting very worried. But Kamu reasoned that she couldn't eat so that she could live on by herself. She hated herself for being stupid enough to be kidnapped by the barbarians, and if only she had stopped Vikir from fighting Madame Eight Legs alone, then he wouldn't have died. Tears streamed down her face even more as she told her uncle that the deaths of Rose and Vikir were all her fault. Seeing her current state, Adolf simply provides a hug, reminding the young girl that she couldn't give up like this. He added that the value of their lives, Rose and Vikir, have now been added to hers, making her life even more valuable than before. He reminds her that the duty of the living is to live and carry on the lives of the dead. Hearing those words, Kamu questions her uncle if she should live in their place. He immediately replies with a yes, saying that Rose and Vikir would be upset if they saw her in her current state. Something snapped within the young maiden as she immediately leaps off the bed, rushing to open a drawer after realizing she has an option to play. She started to craft a magic circle using a pen on a piece of paper, recounting the magical properties about how if the person's thermodynamic function is the same, then something was possible. She goes on to ramble about how magic is about calculating that value, then if she changes the order and formulas a little and assumes that she can extract a different outcome. Looking at how she was scribbling all over the place, Adolf walks over, concerned about what Kamu was doing right now. But she ignores his words, completely focused on magic, talking about how she can approach the negative energy dimension, then bring the entropy of that dimension closer, and replace the positive energy dimension's portion and the rest by equivalent exchange. But she soon gives up, scratching her head all over, frustrated over the fact that she didn't have enough energy to utilize her brain. So with that, she decided she needed food to help with the research. With the order for food, we turn to the massive dining hall, where Kamu sat across from a lady with red hair, knowing that she had been worried about Kamu after hearing she hadn't been eating all this time. It turns out that the red-haired lady is her mother, matriarch of the Morgue family, Respinae Morgue. Knowing that her own daughter, the vice-matriarch, hadn't held a spoon for several days was a cause for worry. Kamu assures her that she would no longer need to worry if she listens to her personal request. Kamu wanted her mother's permission to mobilize the Morgue family, military to search the forest. Her mother and uncle were surprised to hear about that, after knowing how dangerous the forest is. Taking a moment to think, Respinae agrees to Kamu's request, much to the shock of Adolf. He tries to change her mind, but Respinae stands firm with her decision, knowing that Kamu still has something that she can do, meaning that she isn't going to give up that easily. Leaving her own mother with no choice but to let Kamu give up on her own accord. Happy with her mother's choice, Kamu started to eat, chewing away as fast as possible. But then the urge of vomiting took over, her body was rejecting the food. Soon enough, she started puking all over the floor. Adolf immediately stood up, realizing what he thought was true. Kamu couldn't eat the food because it's been too long since she ate something. So he orders the servants to take the plates away, and to instead, prepare food suitable for the sick. But as the servants came to take the food away, Kamu urged them to back off. Her face filled with determination and a side of vomit, she stumbles back onto the dining table, vowing to everyone present that she was going to eat all of the food. With a new profound sense of purpose, Kamu started to chow down, ignoring the spoons and forks, using her bare hands to eat everything. Her mind was only filled with Vikir, knowing that she wouldn't have lost him if she hadn't been kidnapped by the barbarians back then. She wouldn't have lost him if she had stopped him from fighting the huge ass spider by himself. All of those are karma stemming from her. Death is something that was unfairly given to him, when it should have been her. Wiping off her drool, Kamu was determined to restore that unfairness. That day, news spread throughout the Morgue family that the vice-matriarch, who was engulfed in despair, had started to move again. However, people were not expecting her to move the way that she did. We now turn to the Morgue family's Hall of Darkness. A man with white hair sat on a throne, his gaze filled with intent. This man is the head sorcerer of the Morgue family, representing the Hall of Darkness, Snake Morgue. He questions the robed figure standing before him, asking what brought the vice-matriarch of the Hall of Light to his place of darkness. Kamu removes her hood, telling Snake that she would like to defect from the Hall of Light and enter the Hall of Darkness. Snake was startled by her sudden request, reminding her that the Hall of Light was the visible symbol of the Morgue family, while the Hall of Darkness is its shadow, where research and experiments on black sorcery are conducted, far away from the people's eyes. Answering her request, Snakes questions the Lady of Light if she knew what it means to join the dark side. Kamu replies that she had prepared to live her life hiding in the shadows and abandon her mother, her uncle and her rights to the vice-matriarch. Snake knew about her request to mobilize the military, which is currently searching through the forest, leading him to ask if her intentions were to resurrect Vikir with black magic. Kamu proudly reveals that she was. She intends to use the spell of perfect revival. Shocked by her proclamation, Snake reminds her that what she was going to use belonged to ancient black magic where one can completely revive the dead. Kamu was going to use foreign magic, which is strictly forbidden with the Morgue family and the Empire. With all these facts, Snake harshly declines her entrance into the Hall of Darkness, urging Kamu to leave. After being rejected, Kamu shows off her own black magic, telling Snake that she has no choice but to learn the ancient black magic by herself. Snake was instantly stunned by her magic, surprised to see that Kamu was able to control the spirit in her hand. He couldn't believe that Kamu was able to teach herself black magic, which was thought to be impossible. If that was the case, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that she has reached a new level by herself. With all that he was seeing, Snake concluded that Kamu might be a once-in-a-century genius like her mother, Respinae, the matriarch of the Morgue family. Seeing her abilities with black magic, Snake walks over to her, accepting her choice to join the dark side, while reminding her that his word is absolute in the Hall of Darkness, and whether it was something she could accept. Kneeling before the Master of Darkness, Kamu tells him that she doesn't care if she loses everything she has, if it means being able to save the man she loves.
Thanks for watching the latest part from the voice of Manhwa. Subscribe for more content and don't forget to comment below what you want to see in the future. Like and share for more.